Now, eco-activists Just Stop Oil have apparently decided to hang up the high-vis jackets and end their campaign of civil resistance after chucking orange paint at everything for 3 years.
Well, yes. Their main objective was, of course, to wean the UK off fossil fuels, a policy now being implemented by the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband.
Well, is this all good, bad or indifferent? Former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley is here, along with the director of the Climate Media Coalition, Donncha McCarthy. Good to see you both this morning.
Morning, you two.
Have they actually achieved anything, Donncha?
Good morning. Yeah, well, their objective was for the government to declare a policy of no new oil, no new gas, no new coal. The International Energy Agency says we cannot afford new oil if we were going to get to net zero by 2050. If we're going to protect Britain's borders, we're going to protect Britain's farmers, we've got to tackle climate change. So the minimum first step, according to the International Energy Agency, is to stop new oil if we're serious about moving to the green economy. So yes, I think they have achieved their objective.
Peter, do you believe them when they say they've hung up their high-vis?
This is a very cynical ploy by them because on the 16th of May at Isleworth Crown Court, 9 of their members are going to be sentenced, having been convicted of trying to disrupt Heathrow Airport, where they were caught with wire cutters, glue. They were going to cut the fences, get onto the runways and glue themselves to it in an act of crass stupidity and, of course, extremely dangerous. So this is a cynical ploy because they then hope to put it forward to the judge as some form of mitigation. We've learnt our lesson. Please send us to jail for less than you would have done because we've abandoned our tactics. Cynical ploy. The judge will see through it. And on the 16th of May, I look forward to watching all those stupid infantile cretins getting sent rightfully to prison.
It's very strong language, Donncha. However, an awful lot of the public would agree. I mean, as much sympathy as people may have with the goals and aims of some of these people, the way they have behaved, I mean, it's appalling, actually.
Well, come on, look, I think it's been an iconic campaign. It's been
iconic.
Iconic?
Yeah, for example, throwing orange dust on a snooker table got global attention for their cause.
Well, look at this. We're seeing pictures of Stonehenge being attacked, which, I mean, there was real...
dust, and was washed off really easily.
Well, there was real concern about the damage that would do.
There was concern. It could have done. It didn't do any damage. But Peter, unfortunately, calls people cretins. The cretins are not the scientists from the oil companies. The oil company scientists warned in the 60s and 70s, if we didn't act, climate change would damage our economy, damage our agriculture and damage the borders of this country. Those people are not cretins. They're serious scientists. And these people, who I think are heroes, are sounding the alarm to make sure that we act with the seriousness that we require. Unfortunately, Peter, calls them cretins. Why would you call scientists cretins?
The morons of Just Stop Oil proved fundamentally that they were enemies of the people. They started with obstructing the traffic, and the police were lamentably slow to deal with that. They did eventually. Then they chose the arts and culture. They disrupted theatre performances and they tried to destroy priceless artefacts like the Magna Carta. Then they moved on to sporting events, the snooker that you mentioned, the Test match cricket, Lords, and the such like. They fundamentally proved they were the enemies of the people.
I used to have to use the razor that my ex-girlfriend used to shave her legs. It scratched me and it made me feel weird. But fear not, because Manscaped is back with a game changer. This isn't just any old shaver. We're talking about the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. One for that baby smooth look and another when you want to keep it a bit rugged. Get this, it's waterproof. You can use it in the shower, by the pool, or even while scuba diving if that's your thing. This beauty runs for 75 minutes on a single charge. That's enough time to shave your face, your mate's face, and still have juice left over for touch-ups. You'll also get their Power Shave Gel for a proper wet shave experience and a face shave soother to keep your mug looking fresh and irritation-free. It's like having a barber in your bathroom, minus the awkward small talk. Click the link in the description and use the code GBN for a whopping 20% off and free shipping with the code GBN at manscaped.com. Join the 11 million blokes worldwide who trust Manscaped. Your face will thank you, and so will your wallet.
The judiciary woke up to this and sentenced them accordingly to jail, significant jail terms. And to repeat once again, tune in on the 16th
Peter,
of May for more good news.
Peter, do you accept the climate science that the oil companies' scientists have said that this is a fundamental threat to Britain's economy, to our agriculture and to our borders? Do you accept that? And do you not accept that it is the responsibility of a government to protect its people from those threats to our health, to our agriculture and to our food? Why do you call people, scientists like that, cretins?
Last time I looked, I wasn't a scientist.
Exactly.
I'm here to talk from a law enforcement perspective about the appalling behaviour of Just Stop Oil.
And
I think I've made my case very clear.
Fair, as a person who supports the law, my father was a copper. I support the police. But do you not think the police's role in a civil society is to protect the people? And surely when the greatest threat to the people are the criminals and the oil companies are threatening our agriculture, our food and our borders, should not the police be taking action on them, not on peaceful protesters?
The police's job
is to protect the people.
To enforce the law.
Oh, so if the law is damaging the people, would you enforce the law?
That's a matter for parliamentarians.
So the question is yes.
It's a matter for parliamentarians, not the police.
It's a matter of conscience.
No, but you can't expect... I mean, the argument there is you can't expect the police to interpret the law, each individual police officer to interpret the law, can you, in their own way and act on a moral basis, because we'd all get policed to different levels.
And policing is not a matter of conscience. It is a matter of enforcing the law.
And my question to you is, as somebody who supports the law and who actually supports the law protecting people, do you support the scientists from the oil companies who say they were under threat? And what should the public do when the government isn't protecting us? Always in history, Peter, protest campaigns broke the law to actually raise the alarm, and the police cracked down on us. That's how it worked. But actually, in the end, the campaigners, whether they're gay campaigners, whether they're the women's rights campaigners, whether they're the equal ops campaigners, and now the climate campaigners are social campaigns that sometimes have to break the law to raise the alarm. And that's what's happening.
There we have to leave it, gents, because we're out of time. But good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
You will certainly have a view on that one at home, so do let us know what it is. gbnews.com/You'll Say. We'll try and share as many as we can throughout the programme. Now, the King has been in hospital after he suffered an adverse reaction to his cancer treatment.
He's been discharged and his engagements today have been cancelled.
Well, a statement from Buckingham Palace reads, following scheduled and ongoing medical treatment for cancer this morning, the King experienced temporary side effects that required a short period of observation in hospital. His Majesty's afternoon engagements were therefore postponed. His Majesty has now returned to Clarence House, and as a precautionary measure, acting on medical advice, tomorrow's diary programme will also be rescheduled.
Let's talk to our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Morning, Cameron.
Good morning.
I mean, it's disturbing news, but how disturbed should we be?
Well, I think it's a reminder, of course, that the King is still undergoing a weekly cycle of cancer treatments. And we know over the last 6 months, really, the King has been undergoing a full programme of public engagements. He's been ramping it up, even though the Queen and others have been telling him to slow down. And he didn't really want to. The last time we saw him was on Wednesday, where he carried out 2 separate engagements. Saw him in public, But I think the palace perhaps is right when they say a bump in the road. And the reason for that is because, speaking to my sources inside the palace, it seems pretty obvious that the King and his doctors and his staff are still planning for this state visit to Italy to go ahead, which is happening in just under 2 weeks' time. So they appear to be seeing it as a bump in the road. But clearly this situation was serious enough that the King had to go into hospital, the London clinic. So it wasn't an A&E department, and he was taken to the hospital by car, suggesting it wasn't an emergency. I was with the Prince of Wales in Aberdeen all day yesterday. There was no indication from him that anything was wrong. He was his usual, happy self. The Queen did not accompany His Majesty to hospital either, again suggesting that the situation was not serious. It's been described as a precautionary measure that the King was in hospital yesterday. As you said, he's now back at Clarence House. I think this is perhaps just maybe a bit of a wake-up call and a reminder that the King is still undergoing cancer treatment.
Yeah, and especially for us as the public, because it would be so easy to forget it, Cameron, because he's so busy, isn't he? He's so hard-working. He's always out and about. We can see pictures of him now with Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner down in Cornwall just a few weeks ago. We need to remember, don't we, that this is a man in his 70s who is battling cancer, and he may need time sometimes, just to recover at home.
Yes, and he's 76 years old, of course, so he's not a young man either. And, of course, 4 public engagements today have had to be postponed, is what they're saying. And the King, of course, has sent his apologies and his disappointment that he is having to miss that. And a lot of people were asking me yesterday when this news broke, well, why are the palace telling us that he's gone into hospital? Why not just keep it quiet if it was just such a minor issue? And I think they perhaps have learnt lessons from what happened last year, particularly with the Princess of Wales and keeping silence on issues such as this. Because, of course, I was planning to be in Birmingham today to cover the King's visit. And if they said, sorry, he's not going anymore, clearly we as journalists are going to be asking why.
Yeah.
And if they don't tell us why, that creates a void. And that void is filled by a lot of unpleasant speculation. So I think they're trying here to hit the nail on the head, be open and transparent and tell us exactly what's going on with the head of state.
But actually, it's a very good lesson, isn't it, in terms of... even when he first had issues with his prostate, it was very good in terms of people getting checked out and things. It was a very positive message. And with this, it's a good message to say people undergoing cancer treatment who appear to be doing very well can still have their off days.
Yeah, exactly. And the side effects he's experiencing, we understand, are not uncommon with cancer patients. Of course, they're not going into details as to exactly what side effects he's having, but I think we have seen, haven't we, that the King is taking a modern approach to medical issues. Gone are the days where they keep, medical diagnoses from the public. King George VI obviously had lung cancer. The public were never told. He just died unexpectedly from the public's perspective. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, again, their medical details were kept incredibly private, whereas the King, as you say, very open about his enlarged prostate. That led to a surge in NHS website visits from men perhaps experiencing similar symptoms. And again, he's been very open about his cancer diagnosis. So I think that is deliberate. I think it's a deliberate strategy to perhaps modernise the monarchy and also show us that, although he's head of state and the King, he is still a human being and can have the same medical problems that everybody else does.
OK. Cameron Walker,